When I first came to Monaco, was really nothing there. It was just desert type land. It was turned over, nothing was developed. There was just a shed about 12 by 18 or so, garage that was the maintenance building and place where everybody reported to go to work. We had a trailer, a house trailer that functioned as the office for the clerk, and as it turned out, with me coming there, I ended up in the back end of it as my living quarters or sleeping quarters. Running water was you grab the pail and you run to the creek and got a pail of water. And that's how I started out. The South Beach was strictly tag holders. You could chase a rabbit through it, so that all had to be cleaned up. And I think in '61 is when we started to lay out the roads and the campgrounds themselves. The first area that we did was the main beach down at the south end. That was the first campground that first was opened. From there we developed into Sawmill Bay. Lastly was Midway was developed. All the plans and stuff were drafted up in Toronto and sent down, and I surveyed all the work, the roads and stuff, staked them all out for the dozers and everything to come in and start doing the work. They allowed campers in the first year. Once the South Beach area was developed, then we had campers in. And I can remember there one time it became so popular that before we had the other developed, we used to have people just come in, and we put them down by the point and places like that. And I can remember going there at night, just going around issuing permits and shoving the money in my pocket and coming back, just bulging with money, and the place is just so jammed, like the demand was there. The camping then was so much different than what it is now. At that time, like you had an area that you'd level off big enough for a tent, and you set up a table and a fire grill. Our water supply was hand pumps. Campers were basically tent campers. There was a few house trailers. First thing we come in there and build was the comfort stations. They were basically done in the sort of the off season that started in the fall and would work through the winter time under build shelters so you could keep them heated and work. The first building we built was the maintenance building. The maintenance building plus the office. And then we built bunkhouses. There was sort of like a little kitchenette and about 4 or 5 bunkhouses. Well, that was mainly for the staff, and that's where I lived then, in there. We had, in the maintenance building, there was, like I say, it was the office, a washroom with shower and stuff, so it all fit in with the students so they could go over there and have showers. The bunks were made up in 2 rooms so that there would be a student in each side, so it would be 2 to a bunk, and then the kitchen was for everybody. Because really the first place that when we had students that we stayed was down on the point. There was that's where the lodge used to be. And then there was a building beside there that was still there when I first came there. And it was, I guess it must have been a staff building or whatever, but it had like a kitchen and I think it had 4 to 6 rooms upstairs, a big dining room, a kitchenette, and I think it might have been 1 or 2 bedrooms downstairs. We stayed in that for a couple summers until we moved, they did the bunks and stuff. It was really nice there because you could just run out and down and jump in the lake, and right handy. You know where the cabin on the hill is there now? Well, that was down between the point and the lagoon, on halfway down there, and I think that was the cabin, but apparently it was an old schoolhouse. So we moved that from there up to where it is there now. So yeah, took it apart and moved it all, built it back up again. The staff, like I say, Harry Levere was the first person there. And Harry had been hired by Harold Canlon, who was the supervisor for the parks at that particular time. And to get the staff, I believe it was Harold, between Harold and Harry, would contact the townships. And that time with the Reeves, there was Denby, Flinton, Harlow was the three drawing areas that the staff come from. So what they usually do would go to the reeve and say, okay, fine, we need so-and-so. Who do you recommend or who can you send? That's how they picked up the staff to start the park. But the key people like Al Meeks was the clerk. He was hired. Then they had Lawrence Rosenblatt, who was a truck driver. Johnny Ball, who was one of the main maintenance people. Glenn Greggs, Les Mountain. That was more or less the skeleton staff. The main work at that particular time was pretty well cutting trees, burning brush, and then laying out the sites after. Remember when we had winters when we were doing the road going up to Joe Perry. We had a winter works program on doing the road and the hydro line going up into Joe Perry, plus replacing the earth bed toilets with vault toilets. I think we had 60 people working there at that time. I think I had 2 log skidders, another guy with compressor doing dynamite blowing rock, 3 or 4 dump trucks, just on that one particular program. Mike was the caretaker for Denison's when they were operating the lodge and stuff there. And he stayed on as when things kind of fell apart with the Denison Lodge and so on. He stayed on as the caretaker of the property. He was a nice old guy. He was a little bit cantankerous by times, very set in his ways, kind of hermit type. So he had the house. Well, it's tore down now too. It's right alongside the lake there. I actually stayed there one winter with him and in that house. And that's when Mike and I used to, well, just for something to do, we'd take off and go to Belleville to see a show or go up to when Stanfield had the restaurant up here and go up there and have lunch and that type of thing. Well, it was just something Mike seemed to pick up. I guess he just got playing with it one time and somebody kind of noticed it and thought it was quite interesting, so that's all he started to do. He started making paintings and selling them. They're pretty well all Monaco rock. He had the concept of the rock and so on, and looked pretty good. He made, when we first came there, Mike made a lot of axe handles for us there for the tools. Actually, I think he made most of the axe handles when we first started. He was kind of like a dad to me. He got along 100% with him. He could show you a lot of the old ways to do things. Like if you didn't have the tool to do it, hey, we say we get this and this and this, bango, we get the job done. He was very set in his ways and very fair with the men. Yeah, no, Harry was an excellent neighbor. I can remember there when I first got married and lived in Cloyne with my wife. We used to go shopping down to Tweed about every Saturday to get our groceries and this type thing. And I can remember one time Harry just got a brand new car, and our car ended up had to take it over to Harvey Brooks's to had the garage then, get it repaired. And I got up in the morning on Saturday morning and looked out, and Harry's car, brand new car, sitting in my driveway. And so Harry must be around, must come over to see me with knowing I go to town on Tweed to get groceries on Saturday. He must come over to see if I wanted to go in with him. So I was in the car and no Harry. So I went over to Harry's and I said, how come your car's over in my driveway? Oh, he said, I know you go down to Tweed to do your shopping there Saturday. So your car's in the garage. He said, mine's there for you to take. That's kind of what guy he was. Yeah, well, Bill Tibble started there as he was from Fernley. He started there as a maintenance man, and then when Harry retired, at that particular time, I was the superintendent, and I hired him on as the foreman because he was very precise, something like Harry. He did a good job, had the respect of the staff, and so on. And it worked out quite well. Well, normally when I was superintendent, what I usually do, I used to go out and go around the park. Pretty well every other day, just see what was going on, what was happening, and so on, and give the information to Bill. I say, okay, fine. Now here are my priorities. I like to see these done, and you do whatever else you have to do. And that's what he set out today. And this guy would do that, and so on. But we had key people too, like I say, Lawrence was the truck driver, so anything that had to be done, like the garbage had to be picked up or wood had to be moved or whatever, that was his job. Glenn Gregg was more or less the equipment operator, so any type of work that had to be done with the high hoe or snow plow and all that kind of stuff, that was his job. Johnny Ball was the maintenance there, and he was very good at house cleaning, so they worked the organizing and cleaning of the comfort stations and all that kind of stuff fell on his job. So you had your key people, so whatever had to be done, just bang, 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 the way they went. Arnold Boomhour, he was our security officer, or park warden, I guess you call him. Arnold started out as working in a fire tower down in Kildare when they had the fire tower there. And once that job kind of phased out, he come up the park, and he first started when we were what we were doing now. We were peeling cedar posts for guardrails and all this kind of stuff. And Arnold come up and he was doing that job, and wanted to know if there was any chance of anything else going about. And he did show a real talent of being for security, this type thing, enforcement type thing. So we got him on as the chief park warden, and he worked, oh God, pretty well until he was done. Worked as a warden, and excellent.
Yeah.
Wouldn't back down from anybody.
Oh, tougher than nails, eh?
Oh, he just loved getting in the scrap. I can remember one time when he was at the gate. There was a guy come up there on a motorcycle, and he was giving the gate attendant a hard time. So called Arnold up, and Arnold went up and asked him what he was doing, and he said, "You're kind of giving this young lady here a little hard time." The guy said, "Yeah, what are we going to do about it?" And the guy sitting on the motorcycle there, he's wrapping his hand around the helmet. And Arnold said, "Well, so I'm going to ask you to leave." He said, "You can't carry on like that." But the guy said, "Well," he said, "I don't know if I want to leave." Arnold said, "What are you wrapping your hand around that helmet for? You have the idea that you're going to maybe kind of use that?" He says, "I tell you, if you're going to, you want to make the first one count." He says, "You're not going to get the second." He said, the guy turned around and he went,